Yeah, we wouldn't be here. I mean, we struggled. I always tell people, you know, there's things that people hear and they don't know why. My whole thing with my staff and everyone, they realize that I really don't care about what or when or how. I need to have an understanding of why. Why did you do that? Well, why did you think it was? And if I can have an understanding of why, then I can kind of get what I want to get out of here. But when we first started, right, you always hear people say that most businesses fail within the first 3 years, but they don't ever tell you why. Well, shit, I found out why. The why is because when you start a business, or at least when we did, when you have to go out and get capital and borrow money or get leases or get loans, no one ever gave us more than 36 months. Every single lease or loan that we got was 36 months, 3 years. If we had a phone system, it was expensive, 3-year lease. All of our equipment, 3-year lease. Everything. I kept saying, man, this is like, if they only trust you that far. So the first 3 years of all the money that you're making, you literally paying all of these vendors and people. You don't get to keep any of your money. The business, what they say, if you can make it after 3 years, we made it after 3 years because we didn't owe anybody no more. We had paid off the console, we paid off the tape machines, paid off the equipment, right? So we wouldn't have been here. I think back, and I remember, Bob had advisors. Bob was the highest paid NFL lineman on 3 different occasions. His advisors telling him, this is not a good investment, you shouldn't do it. And so for our first 3 years, I remember thinking to myself, he tried to close the studio probably about, if I don't want to exaggerate, I would say at least 7 times a year. So about at least 20 times he said, I'm done. I'm done with this shit. I remember the analogy he used down there broke my, he said, you know what this studio is? This is a piece of dog shit. Dog shit that be in the corner of your house, and the first day the dog shit, you smell it, but when it just sit there, you don't even smell it anymore and it sit there. This is a piece of shit. When I come in here, I don't even smell it no more. I'm sick of it. And so on all those different times, he said he was done. And what I did is said, well, what I got to do to get some more time? If you can get $10,000 worth of booking, then we can stay open another 30 days. And so I didn't know what I was doing then, but when I look back, I never, for other people, that's the time to write the resume and start calling for other jobs because you looking for an out. I just got the staff together and said, this is what we got to do. We was faxing, going to parties, handing out flyers, cold calling. We had an industry source book. We would hit people up and we would hit the number and he'd come in and be like, you bought yourself some more time. And we kept doing that. And so I never, ever turned the other way. I always was looking at how can we keep doing it. So there were plenty of obstacles. And like I said, if it wouldn't have been me, I could have just called somebody else and said, hey man, can I work for your organization or whatever? But I never jumped off the ship, man. Even though water was coming in, I just was plugging the holes and buying more time. And so, once we got past 36 months, man, we started making a lot of money, right? We at the old facility, a 1-bedroom house, we got a lot of money in the account. Bob takes the whole staff, about 30 people to Aruba for a week, all paid for, because we got kind of too much money. It was going to hurt him probably tax-wise. And then I remember, he would always talk about these clients that he wanted to get. In my analogy, I was like, Bob, you want A-list clients, but I got a Honda. I said, you give me a Benz, I'll get everybody in there. And so he made the commitment. We built this $3.5 million facility now. We did have a conversation because he would be like, Curtis, you're going to have to get used to not being no money in the bank account again. It's not going to be this big ass balance, because we're going to be paying over $20,000, $23,000 a month just on the note, not with the bills. And so for me, I always said it felt like, man, I had worked so hard to run 100 yards to get down and I was finna score a touchdown. As soon as I got to the goal line, the coach said, turn around and run the other way. And then when I got down there, he made me run the other way. It hurt. And so we basically started, I had got through that 36 months and we restarted that shit over. And man, our account went down to like, we would just be like, I didn't know how we was gonna make it from time to time. And but it was a risk. We could have just stayed how we were forever. And then now we go in debt $3.5 million or something. And I'm like, I gotta pay what every month? Man, this shit gonna be crazy. And we did it. So yeah, that was a reoccurring thing, man. I can't exaggerate how many times he was done with it, and he just would always give me that little out, because he probably didn't think we was gonna be able to do it, and he would set it up kind of high and be like, well, if you could do this, then blah blah blah, and we got it done. I mean, I always tell people, thank God for Bob. He is the real dreamer, and he doesn't own the studio anymore, but we grew up together, and he's the dreamer. And so I always told people our relationship was, Bob's going to swim out to the middle of the ocean on a basketball and not think about nothing else. And I'm the one that got to go get his ass out of it. So he's the one that like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to put this here. We're going to have granite. We're going to have this. And I'd be like, we got to figure out how we're going to pay for it. And so that's how we're here today, because of a dream and because of some homeboys that grew up together with a similar perspective. If one of us probably would have had a different perspective, Raz probably wouldn't have never thought about that I could be a dope ass rapper, one of the best. Bob would have never thought about I can play in the NFL and be the highest paid lineman 3 different times. And I wouldn't have been naive enough to think that we can come to Atlanta and build a fucking world-class facility and be here for 25 years. But our parents and where we grew up in Carson, California, made us believe that we can do whatever we wanted to if we put the work in. So it's funny. That's why we're putting in work for the patch. But I always say we got work in our name. It's in our DNA. We're going to put the work in.